Hello, my name is Paula Thomas. I'm the founder and CEO of Let's Talk Loyalty and Loyalty TV. I've been working full-time in the loyalty industry now for more than 15 years and published more than 760 podcasts all about our industry. My nickname is the Oprah of Loyalty, so looking forward to the conversation.
My name is Florian. I'm responsible for the go-to-market in EMEA at Agile, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation with you, Paula. So you've been in the loyalty space since early 2000. What made you fall in love with loyalty?
Great question, Flo. Thank you so much. So genuinely, it was very unexpected, I will say. I joined Emirates in the same year that Skywards had just been launched. So now an iconic loyalty program, 37 million members. And I was asked to drive the online booking engine, the performance of that, because as you will, I'm sure, remember, in the year 2000, nobody was booking online. So the only kind of lever I could find in the business was the Skywards loyalty program. It enabled me to, I suppose, first of all, communicate to frequent flyers and incentivize them to change their behavior. So when I think about loyalty marketing, to me, the key is driving profitable behavior change. It's my favorite definition, and it just blew my mind exactly how well it performed. They ran the campaign even after I left for like 3 years. So I just thought, my God, this is a gorgeous industry. So it took me a while to get into it full time. But yeah, 26 years ago is when I fell in love with loyalty.
You've noted that loyalty is shifting towards a newer direction. What would you say is the new gold standard vision?
So also a great question. So I think when I started full-time in Loyalty Flow, it was really all about the retention for the business. So it was telecoms. I worked with O2 Priority Moments, and we were being measured on retaining customers by measuring their engagement with the loyalty program. I think now the gold standard, to answer your question, is really to see loyalty as a business in its own right. And there's remarkable examples all over the world. For example, I just interviewed Qantas. That is a $600 million business, regardless of the retention strategy, direct bottom line revenue. So to me, we have to think about loyalty as a business, not just a retention strategy, because we know it's kind of hard to prove the return on investment. But if you can, then absolutely that is the gold standard.
Your recent research shows that more than 28 programs have more than 100 million members. What would you say are the KPI beyond those vanity numbers that are important for the future? How do you engage with such a massive scale of people?
Yeah, it's an incredible concept, really. We've done a lot of surveys as Let's Talk Loyalty with our audience, who are loyalty professionals. So there's often actually a lot of, I suppose, dismissiveness around that vanity metric of members, because the problem with that number, of course, is that you don't know how many are active or even still alive. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but loyalty programs don't typically tell you if their members have died. So it's quite an inflated number. So as an industry, what we need to do, of course, is measure the active members, not the total members. But I do find that that is only being measured and discussed internally within loyalty programs, whereas externally, for example, with investor reports, annual reports, we only ever seem to really see the total membership numbers. So there's lots of strategies. I know Agile is very good at all of this, of course, as well. But the whole point is having active members. And for me, what I love to see is the growth in active membership. So not necessarily we've acquired more members, but we have more people engaging with the program. It's actually very easy to build a program. Doesn't mean it's any good. Getting people to join is one thing. They can, of course, join for many reasons, but then to continue utilizing, I think, is extremely powerful. And I'm going to give you an example actually as well, Flo, from one of my favorite interviews I did with American Airlines. And actually it was during the time of COVID, so everybody was totally freaked out. But the VP of the Advantage program, so again, 120 million members, and I asked her key KPI, and it blew my mind because again, it was very different to what I'd heard before. And her key KPI was the speed to first redemption. So not just joining the program, not just engaging and earning, but how quickly can I burn? Because we all know that burn drives earn. So that's the single most important thing, is actually to get people to have the wow factor, to get the reward, and then they trust you and they will re-engage much more quickly. So it is a flywheel.
What would you say are the most important ways to drive that engagement and drive people to burn?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, for me, there's the key point, I guess, is about relevance, first of all, on the earn side. So I think what I hear from a lot of guests on the podcast is, first of all, for example, airlines particularly, none of them talk about themselves as frequent flyer programs, whereas they used to. 10, 15 years ago, we would have talked about FFPs. Now they all want to drive engagement every day. So, for example, Skywards, who've been on our show now a number of times, again, very close to my heart. I also live in Dubai. They have a specific everyday proposition, which allows, for example, if you have a co-brand card, you can obviously get points on the co-brand card. They have partnerships with shopping malls, so you can earn in the shopping malls and then in the merchants in the shopping malls. So there's opportunities, for example, to triple dip in certain markets. So that's extremely compelling from a member's perspective. And then the burn is the key. Now, I'm still, I suppose, hoping for better burning experiences. Availability is always an issue. I'm sure you know in airlines, it's all about the inventory management. So seats are sold and seats are redeemed. And there's always an internal battle about who gets the seats. So that's a key kind of objective, I think, for a lot of airlines. To go back to Qantas, for example, they've just built a new tool to help people find when they can afford to fly on a redemption flight. That hasn't been easy until now, but I think finally, maybe with the AI, we might get solutions. Like, I would love to be able to go onto Skywards and say, okay, I only have 20,000 miles. Is it possible to get a flight to Dublin? And if they say yes, then I'm going to book it, So right now it's much more me saying, I have, how many miles are required on this particular date or that date. So it's quite laborious. So I think we need to make it easier. One favorite example, and actually I know you guys work with them, would be Payback in Germany. And they have a 95% redemption rate. So that kind of blows my mind. That fundamentally proves that they're not just earning passively, but they see the value. And in some markets as well, for example, we would see that loyalty programs are being used literally to balance the household budget. So countries like South Africa would literally say, yeah, towards the end of the month, now I need my free pint of milk. So that's quite extraordinary. We can have a big impact on people's lives.
You've outlined the example that you would like to earn points, or you have a limited number of points, and you would like to redeem your points, for example, for a flight.
Always.
Now you're not having enough points. How do you see gaming and gamification? Take into account that?
Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary opportunity. There's no question in my mind. So, that's exactly why I'm here. So I do want to make the distinction between gamification and gaming. I think we've all seen gamification done pretty well. Anybody who's been on Temu, for example, like I spin the wheel every single time. So gamification, I think, has been around and executed pretty well over the last kind of 10 or 15 years. But I think gaming is different. So I would never have identified as a gamer, and I think you know that already. So I don't play World of Warcraft. I'm not going to get into those kind of shooter games, but I do crosswords, and I do love Monopoly. So I really kind of feel like, okay, now I am actually gaming. Is there an opportunity to play to earn points? And that, I think, is the shift. So we know we can fly to earn, we can dine to earn, we can shop to earn, we can use our co-brand to earn. What about play to earn? So much more fun. So rather than asking somebody, go and spend on your credit card or buy a flight and keep spending, I don't think the economy is quite there at the moment where people want to be spending more. But with gaming, they just need to spend their time. So it's so much more fun, easier to earn, and everybody wins.
Why is commercial sense now kicking in for retailers and FMCGs?
So yeah, I think convenience retail, particularly Flo, was a sector that was, I guess, neglected for a certain amount of time. And the fuel sector particularly, and I know we have some coming this evening, for example, the margins in fuel retail are really tiny. So gamification has been used, for example, even back in Ireland, where I'm from, as a really powerful way to, again, just drive behavior, bring a little bit of fun. But certainly in convenience retail, the opportunity is in the convenience stores. That's where the margins are. And as the technology has improved, so at the point of sale, for example, my favorite experience as a customer is when they just say, give me your phone number. Then I know they've got me, I've got my points, and it's not adding on like an embarrassing 1 minute wait while I join a program and I don't really care because I only bought a can of Coke. Now, even with low transaction values, I can be rewarded in a quick and easy way. So that drives the behavior. So again, all about habit forming. So definitely convenience retail has grown exponentially. And I think the next big wave will be FMCG. Over the years, we know that, of course, FMCG depend on their retail partners for data, for insights. They have found it difficult to build relationships, but now I think what they say is, look, we know data is the new oil. It's an old phrase, but it's totally true. So we're hearing more and more FMCG wondering how can they connect with their customers without relying on the retailer to be the controller of that relationship. So we'll wait and see where it goes, but I think it's fun to watch.
Are there any other trends you are very excited about?
Ooh, other trends. Well, it would be remiss if I didn't mention AI. I still think that that is very, very early. I haven't actually seen many experiences where that has been very compelling, personally. I saw some recent research that AI obviously is getting massive adoption, massive investment, but it's really only driving significant productivity gains with things like software coding and customer service. So I do think that that's something to watch. I know here this evening we're going to talk about the research report that you mentioned earlier. And I am super proud of myself, actually, because I built all of our landing pages with an AI tool that I'd never used before. I felt like an absolute genius. So this to me was a total game changer. So for sure, I would say that has to be something that somebody's going to do something super cool. I don't think we've seen it as yet. So that's brilliant. And, you know, to go back to the gaming point, Flo, it's absolutely the next big opportunity. I think all the loyalty programs that are coming here this evening, you know, they've really addressed all of the kind of main sectors of spend. They've got a lot of partnerships in place, but there's so few people have tapped into essentially what you've created because you've made it fast and easy. And because it's fast and easy, I think gaming is going to be absolutely explosive. So I'm going to hang out with you guys, go to lots more gaming conferences and see what we can do with loyalty programs in the gaming space.
Thank you so much, Paula, for sharing all these insights. I know that if people are interested in reading more, they can find it here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Flo. I have spent a year working on that report. I'm very proud of it. So now we know, for example, the biggest loyalty program in the world with more than 500 million members. So very exciting times.
Thank you.
Thank you.